And he begged them, please let me call my wife. One phone call. And they're like, F you, get on the plane. So he gets dumped in Guatemala, and he's a fighter. He didn't rise to the top of the mafia for nothing. Like overnight, he books the Biltmore Hotel. He has his brothers fly in with suitcases filled with cash. That's not canceled, that trip. What happens is Diem in Vietnam is killed in a CIA-backed coup, which Kennedy is distraught about. He thought the CIA was just going to take him out of power. He didn't know they were going to kill him.
Oh, they don't kill people, Lou.
Kennedy pretended he didn't know.
Jesus
Whatever
Christ.
the case is, I know.
That's some naivete.
I know. Well, defenders of Kennedy have sworn that he had no idea.
Yeah, okay.
Right. So he cancels the trip last minute. He's got issues with Vietnam. Cancels Chicago. And now there's one place where it's got to happen. It's got to happen in Dallas. And who controls Dallas? Carlos Marcello through his Texas Borgata, run by Joe Civillo and Joe Campisi.
Yep.
And who's one of the closest guys to Joe Campisi, the underboss of the Civillo Borgata? Jack Ruby.
Oh, that's right. I was wondering when he was going to come up.
Jack Ruby has a steak dinner with Civillo the night before the assassination. The underboss of the... And Jack Ruby supposedly just did it spontaneously. You're eating with the underboss at his restaurant, having a steak dinner with him the night before Kennedy gets there.
Sketchy.
Yeah, at the very least. But it goes on with Ruby. So now just let's rewind 1 minute, because I want to know, I want you and your listeners to know the hatred Marcello had for Bobby and why. So when Bobby wants to deport Marcello, he wants to deport him either to Italy. He's looking in Asia. He wants to just get rid of him anywhere.
Asia? How would he even get him to Asia?
Bobby was looking for anywhere that would take him and anywhere as far away as he could send him. It was by illegal means, not legal means. You got to deport somebody back to their country of origin. Bobby didn't care. That's the problem.
Oh, he wanted to like brown bag him, throw him in a truck?
He did. So what happens is Marcello knows that if I'm that far away from my Borgata or my family, I'll lose control and I can't. The guy Marcello took over for, Silverdollar Sam Carollo, that guy was deported back to Sicily, which gave Marcello the opportunity in 1947 to take over the Borgata.
Right, so he knows.
He knows if I'm deported, I'll be like Carollo going from Sicily. Hey, guys, don't forget me. Well, you're forgotten. So he goes, I'm going to go right across the Gulf and I'm going to go to Guatemala. And I'm going to phony a passport there so that Marcello's real birth, he's a Sicilian, but he was born in a Sicilian community in Tunisia. So technically, Bobby's thinking at first, before he thought of Asia and other places, he thought of either Italy, Sicily's part of Italy, or Tunisia. That was another couple of options.
That's
Bobby
Africa.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there was a strong exile community of Sicilians in Tunisia. You know, when they left for America, they went other places too. They went to South America. They went to North Africa. You know, they were always looking for a better life. Sicilians are very industrious people, and they pick up wherever they go. Yep. Yeah. So basically now, Marcello, he pays $100,000 to this guy, Carl Knoll, who goes over to the country of Guatemala and bribes people around the president. And they take him around in a presidential limousine, and they drive him through villages, and they find a records book. The year and day Marcello was born, they find a space, and they add his real name, which was Calogero Minicore, instead of Carlos Marcello, which was the later American name he took. And they fill it in, and they give his birth date, and then they take the records book to the State Department in Guatemala, and they said, give us a passport. They got the guys on the inside, they bribe. They give a passport, then they get a birth certificate. Then they go back and they take the birth certificate. And Marcello's going, okay, at least if Bobby deports me and I lose this battle, because he's been staying the deportation for a long time. If I lose this battle, I'll be in Guatemala. I'm a quick flight away. My capos could come see me. My family could come see me, and maybe I'll fight my way back. But I won't be far. It's a skip and a jump as opposed to across the ocean.
Yeah.
So Bobby knows this birth certificate was fraudulent. He knows it. He finds out through his own sources that Marcello forged this birth certificate because he knows he's from Tunisia. He knows where he's from. And he says, okay, he forged it. I'm going to fix his ass. The next time he goes to sign in at the Masonic Temple building where the INS offices were housed in New Orleans, he would have to go sign in once a month or whatever. I did that when I used to be on federal probation. I was on state probation. You sign in. So he's staying a deportation order, but they want to know where you are. So he's got to sign in. He usually signs the book. You say hello to the guy, you tip your hat, and you leave. Marcelo goes in to sign in, and the guy goes, sit down. And Marcelo thought that was strange because he's like, this guy's usually friendly with me. Sit down. And then all of a sudden, these big goons come out of the back, and they grab Marcelo, cuff him, and they throw him in a car, and they rush him to Mossant International Airport, where there's a passenger plane, like a 78 passenger seat plane, waiting on the tarmac with just a pilot and co-pilot. And they throw him on the plane. They toss him on the plane, and he's on the plane going,
this is it.
This is it. And are they going to throw me out? I was just kidnapped. Now, with hindsight, we know that maybe Bobby and General Swing, who was the head of the INS at the time, who Bobby recruited to help him with this, we know that Bobby and General Swing had no intentions of murdering him, but I made a very good case when Pinochet took over Chile. He had an Admiral Carvajal who he said, look, round up all our political enemies, put them on a plane, tell them we could send them wherever they want to go. And once we get them in the air, just open the door and start throwing them out. So now today I make the argument, we know that Bobby Kennedy and General Swing are not equal to Pinochet and Admiral Carvajal, but there's no way Marcelo could have known that. Don't forget, Bobby Diem is dead in Vietnam. Bobby also and Jack backed a CIA coup that killed Trujillo in Dominican Republic. So it's not beneath them to murder. We just know that now Bobby wasn't planning to kill Marcelo, but that doesn't mean the Kennedys weren't okay with killing. And Marcelo thought he was going to be killed. So Marcelo is literally on the plane thinking, I'm dead. They just kidnapped me. They wouldn't even let me call my wife. They wouldn't let me get money, my toothbrush, nothing. And he begged them, please let me call my wife. One phone call. And they're like, F you, get on the plane. So he gets dumped in Guatemala. And he's a fighter. He didn't rise to the top of the Mafia for nothing. Like overnight, he books the Biltmore Hotel. He has his brothers fly in with suitcases filled with cash, and he's running a satellite office in Guatemala. And all the biggest businessmen in Guatemala are paying homage to him, and visiting him and wanting to invest. Please invest with us
right away.
Right away. So he's running shit in Guatemala. He's going to the racetrack. He's lighting up a cigar. The president's okay with him. He's taken over Guatemala, which is Bobby's not happy about, but as long as you're out of the United States. The heat comes down on the president of Guatemala, probably from Bobby too. But the press leaks out. There's a mob boss in here. He's having a jolly old time. And the Guatemalan president says, look, you got to go. Now they escort him over the border into Honduras. And that begins, he's with his lawyer. His lawyer goes, I won't leave you. So Marcelo tells his family, go home. Don't worry about me. I'll be all right. And he goes with his lawyer. He's got a suit on with snakeskin shoes. And they have to and he's a squat little chubby mob boss. Yeah. And he's got to go a 17-mile trek through the jungle. Yeah. Through the jungle. He falls down a hill.
The fucking snakes, all this bullshit.
Jules, he falls down a hill, breaks 3 ribs, and he's telling his lawyer, he's huffing and puffing on the verge of a heart attack, going, listen to me, tells his lawyer. If I drop dead, you go tell my brothers to do what they got to do with that Bobby. Don't forget what I'm telling you. If I don't make it out of this jungle, you tell my brothers to do what they got to do. Now, you know the mob, Jules. What does do what you got to do mean?
That means whack them. But that is also, it's crazy how Marcelo is a guy who isn't talked about in so much mob lore and whatever. And his life is a fucking movie if I've ever seen one. I mean, these subplots, I mean, it's like, I could see a Netflix series.
All day long.
Yeah.
All day long.
And he ruled in Louisiana, which has very interesting terrain, totally different type of economy and everything.
Let me just mention something really quick. the Netflix assholes that take my books and use my books I'm going to kill them because I'm so tired of them reading my books. I'm dead serious.
Who are they?
I watch shows. I can't tell you how many.
Let's call them out by name, Lou.
Oh, no. Let me just say something. I watch shows that I see bits and pieces of my books, literally a line that's taken right out of my book. And I'm like, son of a bitch. I mean, what are you going to do, sue over a line? But you know that these guys, they don't know the life. They got to read my book, and then they translate it into paper. And no one wants to call you. By the way, there was one, I don't want to say, it's a big series that called me once, and they asked me a bunch of stuff, and they were trying to lead me to believe that they were going to bring me on as a consultant. They're such sleazebags in Hollywood. I get so tired of them, I got to tell you. But anyway, let me not go off on a tangent, because if you ever hear a guy went postal in Hollywood, just bank on it. When they identify him, it's going to be me.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I'm like, I think
they just heard you loud and clear.
Yeah, I had enough of them. So call me up. Do the right thing. Call me up. Yeah, don't steal. Don't steal. I went to jail when I stole. You should suffer if you steal. You shouldn't steal from people.
Listen, I'll get the Louisville downstairs. Yeah. You and me will go break a couple kneecaps.
Don't steal from people.
Don't worry.
Don't steal. So anyway, that said, so Marcelo works his way out of there by the skin of his ass. He makes it alive. He gets back to Louisiana, and Bobby now doubles down and gets him for illegal reentry and charges him with federal crimes through the Louisiana prosecutors.
What year is Bobby's AG at this point?
Yeah, well, he just became AG. This is within the first year.
Okay.
This is all happening within the first year. So now Marcelo starts making threats. I'm going to kill Bobby. I'm going to kill Bobby. I'm going to kill Bobby.
Is he sitting in jail?
No. He gets out.
He bails.
He bails. But Bobby put suffocating liens on Marcelo's family. He left them with no food in their refrigerator. All their checking accounts were frozen. This is Marcelo's wife and kids.
Yeah.
An
Italian guy with no food, that's a tough blow.
Italian guy, right. And you fucked with his family.
Right.
Right? Omerta, right? So now he starts, at some point, his threats towards Bobby Kennedy start to be directed towards Jack Kennedy. And at some point, a couple of guys around Marcelo go, what are you going to do with that Bobby? You're going to kill him. And he goes, no.
You cut the head off the snake.
The dog. Right.
Yeah, the dog, not the tail.
Right. The dog will keep biting you if you just cut the tail off. Yep. You got to cut the head off and the tail dies, head and the tail together. Yep. So that's the first thing he says. Then on another occasion, he said, if you kill Bobby, his brother will send out the National Guard to get us. If you kill Jack,
he can't do shit.
His brother's disempowered in a split second.
Yep.
So now he starts to talk, and he's gearing his angst towards Jack. And now he wants to kill Jack, and now he knows. Now at the same time this is happening, this is the perfect storm.
Yeah.
This is the perfect storm.
This is during all the Cuba stuff.
During all the Cuba.
But my question was going to be, when does Trafficante?
Well, Trafficante now is getting heat too. He's pressured. His wife's got liens against her. He's being threatened with all kinds of prosecutions.
So Bobby's coming after him too.
Bobby's going after him too. Bobby subpoenas his wife. He's not happy about that, Trafficante. So, and he's being strangled. So now, at some point or another, as the mob feels that they need to kill Jack in order to get rid of Bobby, or they're going to be dead. Bobby swore he's going to wipe them off the face of the earth. They're the enemy within, he said. He wrote a book about it called The Enemy Within. He considered them a cancer within the United States that's worse than any foreign enemy. So now they feel they got to kill Jack. At the same time, the Cuban exiles have gone from the mascots of liberty to enemies of the Kennedy administration who are being locked up on land and sea. They hate the Kennedys. And what did they have to do with Carlos Marcelo and Santo Trafficante? Only the fact that after Kennedy defunded the exiles, which originally was there was 200 million dumped into the exile effort to take back Cuba. Now, in a minute, they're defunded. They're walking around with cans going, you got a nickel, you got a dime. They don't know how to get money. But Mr. Moneybags is making $1 billion a year. So he starts underwriting them, Marcelo does, And Traficante's underwriting the camps in Florida. Marcelo's underwriting the camps in Louisiana, Lake Pontchartrain. There's Cuban exile camps. And all of a sudden, the exiles are getting closer and closer to Marcelo. And the exiles, whenever you consider the exiles, don't forget they're rogue, let's say rogue CIA agents, ones that despise Kennedy, but let's not call them, it's not John McCone who's in charge of the agency. It may not be other CIA agents, but there are a few who think that Kennedy's actions are tantamount, or inaction with Cuba, was tantamount to treason twice. Those guys trained the exiles. They felt the exiles were let down, and they despised Kennedy. So let's put them into the picture too. And these are the forces brewing all at once against Kennedy. And now you got Hoover, who knows that if Kennedy gets a second term, he's out or may be smeared as a homosexual along with it, which was unacceptable at the time. So now you have Hoover kind of seeing all this stuff as it's happening in real time through top echelon informants, through eavesdropping devices, and going, I didn't see and hear anything. So, okay, very good. You got Dulles, who was forced to resign. Whatever's happening in his agency or his old agency, he's really not that really concerned about it either. Let it happen. So you got a lot of people who just despise the Kennedys, who just need only step back. And then you have the ground cabal. Who's in charge of the cabal on the ground? When Carlos Marcello is indicted by Bobby Kennedy for illegal reentry, Carlos Marcello's attorney has somebody who works for him. And that guy's name, he's a dogged investigator, but a little bit of a lunatic. He's a contract agent for the CIA. He does experiments, cancer research in his apartment where there's like 5 million mice running around the apartment. And
totally normal.
Totally normal. Totally normal. He was once like, he was like a fake Orthodox cardinal of this offshoot religion of the Catholic religion, but the Catholic religion didn't recognize them. So like he's into like a lot of spiritual stuff, a lot of the occult. He's been charged with pedophilia.
Just the full gamut.
And he's completely opposite of anything you would ever think Marcelo is, a traditional conservative mob boss who's like, when he first landed in Guatemala, this woman took him in, who was the general who accepted him at the border, at the airport. He said, go home with my secretary. And he was so embarrassed to sleep in the bed with her. He goes, I don't have any pajamas. I don't know how to sleep in the bed with another woman. Like he was like real, like prudish. And he's hanging out with this guy who's a pilot who takes young boys up into his plane, supposedly. He was accused of this on a number of occasions, and he molests them. Right. Now that guy was close with Lee Harvey Oswald in the Civil Air Patrol many years before. And he knows Oswald and hangs out with Oswald still. And Oswald and him have been seen at training camps that Marcelo funds. And all of a sudden now that guy starts working for Marcelo on this case that Bobby brought against Marcelo, David Ferry. David Ferry was known, he was very cute. He despised Kennedy. He first kind of like when the CIA was playing around with making sure that we back Fulgencio Batista in Cuba against the rebel Castro, but also sending Castro a little aid just in case Castro wins.
Oh, they were hedging.
The CIA did. At the same time, Ferry was involved with that, so he kind of hedged too. But when Castro got into power and went full Marxist-Leninist,
they said, fuck that, we're out.
And Ferry despised Castro. He hated him. So he really, really, and then when Kennedy he wanted Castro dead. And when Kennedy dropped the ball at Bay of Pigs and the missile crisis,
Ferry was pissed.
He was running around telling everybody he should die, he needs a bullet.
And that was Joe Pesci and JFK.
Yes.
Oliver Stone's movie.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So now at that point, and by the way, Oliver Stone did a great job on that movie, but he discounted the mob's role, like completely. He just left them out of it. And that's like, I think his own myopic vision of what the mob was at that time. He's maybe thinking the mob now. Yeah, the mob wouldn't have anything to do with anything that big. Nobody would work with them today, like on a level like that. But back then, you need
they had insane power back then.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was before the CIA was willing to kill on their own. The CIA was always
Allegedly.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, at some point, I think there's a sea change in
Yeah, they liked having, I guess you could say, like,
proxies.
yes, proxies, a little deniability.
Exactly. And at some point, I think the CIA made a huge move to say, you know what? We got ex-military. We could do these things ourselves. We don't need anybody's help. But at that point, it's what you said. You need a little plausible deniability. They were kind of just wetting their feet with it was new. It was just towards the end of the Eisenhower administration that they're really, really ready to make this dive into killing international leaders. They tried to kill Zhou Enlai of China, Mao Zedong's right-hand man. They tried to kill Patrice Lumumba, who was killed before they got.
Oh yeah, we did a podcast on that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So they're kind of going full speed, but they're doing it through other people. With Lumumba, with Zhou Enlai, they're using people to do. Somebody else planted the bomb on the plane with Zhou Enlai. It was the wrong plane. Innocent people were killed. With Patrice Lumumba, they were trying to do it through people on the ground that weren't necessarily CIA, but they were going to deliver the toothpaste to him. Like that had the poison in it.
Yeah.
So this went on, and I think at some point they go, all right, let's stop working with proxies. Let's just do this. I mean, we got SEAL Team 6 that they're all unemployed. They're 55 years old. They're not SEAL teaming it around no more. They can't even swim, these fat guys, but they could kill. So you know what I'm saying? Like, not to take anything. I'm 55. I'm not taking anything away from them, but I think they went full speed ahead on their own at some point.
Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.